You know it's going to be hard. You know it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. You're starting a business. This is going to be hard. But I wish somebody had really looked me in the eyes and said, this is going to be hard. This is going to be very, very, very hard. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. You have everything within you to be able to do this. But it's going to be hard, and you need to be prepared for how hard it's going to be. You're going to have great weeks where you are feeling like you're on top of the world and this is just working and it's always going to work. And I'm not even exaggerating. The very next day you wake up, all of a sudden everything's falling apart and you're contemplating if you have to sell your gear and go get another job. It can be that much of a roller coaster, especially early on. Hey everybody, Resident Loser Jeremy here, and today I want to talk about things that I wish someone had told me when I decided to open a studio. So what's it like to own and operate a recording studio? Well, it's about as cool as you would think it would be. Honestly, one of the most fun jobs I've ever had, and I've had some pretty bad jobs. I get to come to work, I get to do what I love, which is make music. You get to meet so many different kinds of people, so many different walks of life, and so many different musical backgrounds. Is fascinating, to say the least. But I guess what I wanted to talk about in this one was things I wish somebody had sat me down and really explained to me before I decided to go into running a studio full time. And these are things that are kind of obvious to us, things that we might have in the back of our head somewhere, but you don't really put the time into thinking about them because either you don't want to think about it or you don't think it's as big of a deal in the moment because you have this huge decision looming. Do I open this or not? Do I take this step? And this isn't necessarily just for the recording studio. And no, I'm not going to talk about buying gear. I'm not going to talk about mixing techniques. This is specifically like a mindset thing. So this could also be for those people who aren't even thinking about a recording studio at all. But this is my experience and this is how we're going to do this. So for my background, I went to school. I went to college. I did not go to school for this. I did not go for audio production. I do carry a music degree. I went on to get my master's in business, so nothing really audio related. However, those things did help me in running my own business. Do I think you need to go to school for this? No. If you want to go to school for this, that's awesome, but I don't think you need to, and we can talk about that in a different video. One thing that's painfully obvious, as soon as you start a business of any kind, you don't really notice it right away, but it's something that happens very, very quickly, is that, especially if you were like me and you have a background going to school, college, where your whole life was kind of planned out, and you were a participant in it for sure, but you were always following certain rules. You were always going by certain guidelines. You were always told, you made a decision what you wanted to do. For me, that was music. Somebody laid it out. Okay, here are the classes you need to take. You have decisions in here. You can decide what time you're going to take that class, but here's the roadmap of how you're going to get this done. And it was all laid out in front of you, and all you had to do was kind of check the boxes, go get your degree, and you're done. Obviously, that's an oversimplification of secondary education. Even if you didn't go to college, that exists in high school, that exists whatever your level of education was. Someone has laid out a roadmap for you to follow. And once you step out on your own, there is no roadmap for you to follow. Very quickly, you have to get your bearings about you, decide what road you're going to take. That can be really, really hard for some people. It was really hard for me for a while until I realized that there's no one that's going to tell me what to do here. There are people who are going to offer advice and probably people you shouldn't listen to. Some you should. Ultimately, you're responsible for your business. You have to create the roadmap. Kind of along those lines, there's no schedule to follow. There's no piece of paper you get on the first day that says 9 to 11, you're going to be editing tracks. 11 to noon, you're going to have that meeting with the band that wants to record. 1 to 2, that's your lunch time. But don't forget, that's also where you need to kind of learn new techniques. No one does that. It's your choice if you're going to get up early and go to work. It's your choice if you're going to stay late and work. It's your choice if you're going to go to the gym somewhere around the midday. No one will tell you how your day works. Not even your clients. It's up to you when you want to record. There's definitely a common theme here in having a lot of freedom. A lot of people will think that that is the ultimate dream job, having the freedom to do whatever you want to do, but I've seen a lot of people crash and burn because the freedom is almost too much. You don't take enough things seriously. You don't have that hustle mind, because if you are a procrastinator from the start, which I'm a big time procrastinator, and it's something I had to work through and I constantly have to work through. It is hard when there's nobody holding your feet to the fire except you, and you are the only one responsible for how much money you're going to make if this is your decided career to follow. Some of the good things about this, especially if you're from an education, if you're coming from going to school for this, there's no homework. There's no required assignments. There's no studying. There's no being late to class. But the flip side of this, it's all on you. Now, I've seen this a lot. Interns that I've had here who are fresh out of school, it's like they've worked, and I've seen their resumes, so they're very, very qualified individuals. They know what they're talking about. They get good grades, so I know they can work hard, but once I give them any amount of work to do, it seems like it never gets done. Not every intern is like this. I don't want to lump everyone together, but that seems to be kind of a common theme with interns who are fresh out of school. Like you had senioritis and you never quite got out of it. If that feels like it could possibly be you need to take a hard look at your motivation for wanting to do something like this, and realize that even if you're sitting here as an intern and you want to kind of be the person sitting in that chair over there, eventually having your own studio, running your own recording studio, or whatever career we're talking about here, right? It could be anything. But if you want to be that person eventually, a person sitting over here in this chair is not going to teach you a whole lot if they don't see your drive and motivation and want to learn. If you're just kind of sitting on the couch being a fly on the wall, then that's what you're going to be. You're not going to get a whole lot out of this. But if you're going the extra step, and those interns who, they were always on time, they always did a little bit of extra work, they were always looking for something to do, they had that motivation. I taught those people way more, and it's not because, I guess it's a little bit because of playing favorites. It's just you want to teach somebody who is showing you that they want to learn. And the same thing goes with actually running your business. You want to work with someone who wants to work with you. So that kind of a mentality is really, really hard to teach. It just kind of happens, and it has to be in you all the time. One of the good things that comes out of this is the freedom. There's no one to tell you what to do. There's no one to say you can't. You are free to run your business however you want to. The flip side of that is there's no one to tell you you're doing a good job. There's nobody to tell you you're on the right track. There's no one who's gonna look at you and say, yeah, you're attaboy. You have friends and family who can do that, but nobody really dedicated in that field, unless you find a really, really good mentor. But even then, on a daily basis, no one's gonna be there to kind of give you those accolades if that's something that you really feed on. That can be one of the hardest things. You have to trust yourself and your own instincts, and over time, it does get easier. You can plan for certain things better, but it is hard. It is very, very hard. Something to talk about is money. Whenever I hear somebody who wants to start a studio, I get excited for them because I was in that position and I know that feeling. And it's a hard thing to trust yourself enough to be able to do that. But one thing I wish I knew was to pay myself first. I wish I had done a better job of that when I first started. Set aside portions of budgets, whatever that is, to pay myself and save money. I'm very glad I started to do that, especially in the times we're in now with a ton of uncertainty. And if I hadn't saved money and put things back and paid myself, I would be in serious trouble, because taxes, especially when you own a building, taxes don't wait for you to get that next gig. The electric bill does not wait for you to get the next mixing project done. Without paying those things, you're kind of out of luck. Even if you have an awesome building filled with awesome gear, if you can't pay to keep the lights on, you can't pay for anything. It's important to pay yourself and put money back for those times that are unpredictable. I like to watch financial shows like Graham Stephan all the time, and just learning that put 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever you could do, put it back in your bank account and don't touch it, just in case something happens and you don't make any income for that amount of time. It's hard to imagine, you don't want to think about it, but trust me, you will feel better knowing that it's there. Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. I can't tell you how many people that I know, some people who have come through here and worked, who have lost files due to either an accident, something happened to a hard drive that was honestly nobody's fault, or just poor file management. This is something that should be taught in schools. You need to have backups, redundancy in backups. I have a hard drive that stays on my keys Here it is, right there. That's basically my entire business that always stays with me all the time, no matter where I am. Over on the desk, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 or 7 external hard drives, not including the ones that are inside the computer that are not a system drive. I have at least 3 backups for everything, and one of those that's on my keys always leaves the building with me. It sounds paranoid. I get it. I know. Trust me. And it's honestly, in the beginning, it was a pain to try to deal with all of those backups. But your money, your livelihood, everything exists on those hard drives. So just a little bit of an investment, a couple $100 on a hard drive, which this one has been by far my favorite, SanDisk Extreme SSD, 2 terabytes, and it fits on my keys. I've had that thing for over a year and I love it. I'm gonna put the link in the description. If you're looking for a 2 terabyte hard drive, that's a good one and it's fast. But if you're gonna buy one of those, buy 2. Keep one in wherever you're working and keep one on you at all times. If the worst case scenario happens, your house, if you work out of your house, or your building, if you work out of a building, gets struck by lightning and fries all of your hard drives, at least you have one on you so you can continue. You can move forward. If everything ends in lightning, you're done. You have to restart all those projects, and guess what? The artist is not going to pay for them. You are. It's a very little thing that costs $100, $200 that can save you immense amounts of headaches. And yes, I have had hard drives fail. I've had a lot of hard drives fail. I run a lot of hard drives, but it's never shut me down because I have so many backups of them. And as soon as one goes down, I replace it with another one. And eventually those are all gonna be really, really small SSDs, and it's not gonna take up any space at all, and I love it. And I think the last thing to say that I wish I had known, starting a business, you know it's gonna be hard. You know it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. You're starting a business. This is going to be hard. But I wish somebody had really looked me in the eyes and said, this is going to be hard. This is going to be very, very, very hard. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. You have everything within you to be able to do this. But it's going to be hard. And you need to be prepared for how hard it's going to be. You're going to have great weeks where you are feeling like you're on top of the world and this is just working and it's always gonna work. And I'm not even exaggerating. The very next day you wake up, all of a sudden everything's falling apart and you're contemplating if you have to sell your gear and go get another job. It can be that much of a roller coaster, especially early on. The sooner you get the saving up a 6 months worth of savings in your bank account, that doesn't eat away at you so much, but that feeling never really goes away. You learn how to mitigate it. You learn how to kind of push it to the side because you're slowly trusting yourself more that you know how to do this. I'm 9 years in at this building and I still go through this process, so it never goes away. It's very, very hard, but you can do it. Trust me, if I can do this, anyone can do this. I made terrible records for a long time. It took me a long time to trust that I was getting to the point where what I was putting out was any good or worth anything. And the more you get into this, the farther you get into this, as with anything in life, you're gonna realize you don't know everything. You need to be able to keep your ear to the ground to criticism. I'm 34, so I'm getting a little older, at least in comparison to the musicians that I work with. It's important to force yourself to listen to music that maybe you don't like, just to know where the trends are going, to learn new techniques. I have done it long enough to see that engineers who I thought were amazing, like these guys were the heavy hitters who fall by the wayside quick because they won't change. They won't evolve. They think what they know is the best and they just won't learn anything different. At least for me, I'm going to try to keep learning constantly because that seems to be the only way to make a business last, at least in an industry like this. Anyway, guys, I hope one of these hits home for you, especially if you're thinking about starting your own recording studio or any business really, because these can be applied to just about anything. If you guys like what I'm doing here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I do mix tutorials a lot. I go through tips and tricks as far as mixing, mastering, tracking, writing songs goes. We do little one mic experiments here in the studio and we just have fun. And sometimes I like to talk to the camera just like this, so subscribe if you're liking it. Definitely hit the bell if you want to be notified because I go live about once, maybe twice a week where we just kind of chill, we talk, I answer questions, and it's just a very cool time to interact. So hit the bell if you guys want to be notified when we go live. Anyway, guys, I'm Resident Loser Jeremy. I'll see you in the next one.